Hi, I have Tim Zorich here, the hardware expert, and I'm Devon Tim, the host of MVTV, and what we're going to be talking to you today about these beautiful boards that can be very confusing if you're not sure what's going on, but at the end of the day, Mountain Window Doors are experts and we're the stocking dealer to get you the right closet rod and components. So we're going to go through, and Tim, who's our leader of hardware, and we have support team, in-stock inventory, and the whole thing to go along with this. So what we're going to do is grab these components and parts and talk about all the parts, and then we're going to put it together as assembly so you understand what parts you need to buy to assemble your custom closet. Sound good, Tim?
Sounds good, Devon.
So the first thing we would want to figure out is the color, right? So we're each holding boards that show different colors. So Tim, tell us about the kind of color palette that you're going to see, and tell us about the brand that we stock in the closet rod category.
Well, the brand we stock is Epco, which is short for Engineered Products Company. We stock them in chrome, in the oval rod, and the 1/16" round rod. We also have available to us by special order stainless steel and a larger diameter of chrome rod. And then we're also stocking the round rod in oil rub bronze with the accessories and flanges.
So the oval is that kind of oblong, kind of more modern shape, and the round is the traditional round rod, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Cool. So you have the closet rod. So first you want to figure out your color, right? Whether you want the browns or the oil rub bronze, the dark colors, or the silvers, which is comprised of the polished chrome or the stainless steel, right? And the
Correct.
Price point is going to be similar between the oil bronze and the polished chrome, as well as the steel. Tell us about the price category when you're picking your color and closet rod.
Well, the chrome rod is actually not a lot more expensive than an extendable rod. They're about $12 for an 8-foot piece. Flanges are less than $1 a piece. So it's fairly reasonable. You can give a closet system sort of look to just about any closet for maybe 15 or 20% more than extendable rods.
Cool. So you got the closet rod, which is where you start. So the first thing you would do is go through and figure out how many lineal feet you need, and then we stock certain sizes in 8-foot and 12-foot depending on which our website. You can go to that, you can click into the store, then you can click into all of these components and it'll tell you which one we stock, as well as we make replenishing orders on a regular basis. So the idea of stock versus special order is a very minimal difference, but if you need it today, you can see from our website what we have on the ground today from our online store, or reach out with Tim, as well as reorder points. And we're happy to bring in more stock for stuff that people need, right?
Yeah, it's a new program, so no doubt we'll run into some situations where we do have to bring material in, but their lead times are very quick, so they can get it out the door in 24 hours.
Cool. And I think Epco did a great job with these boards, because these things on the side are what hold the closet rod up, right?
Correct.
So
yeah.
what the industry refers to as the flanges are the pieces that hold it up on each side. And tell me about why you have this U-shaped one and then this full circle, and what those call.
Well, I'll back up a little bit and point to the oval flanges. Typically what people do is they'll use a darker color if they're using lighter laminate, and then they use chrome if they have something like cherry wood or walnut color. The flanges can work for adjustable shelves in the oval. And then if you go to the round...
The adjustable shelves, the peg hook, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, you can...
So that you have the flat version that would just get screwed to the wall, and there is not a close for the oval, right? It would just get set inside of there.
That's right.
And then there is the peg hook version that has a little peg in the back to punch into a peg board, kind of as a pre-punched kind of wall. Right?
Exactly, yeah. That way you can adjust the rods for a low, high, or just a high only if you have long hanging stuff.
Okay.
And then on the round, you can do a full round or a U-shaped flange. A lot of times they'll do one on each end, and that way you can just lift the rod out. If you decide you want to use the closet for something else, you just lift the rod out. Now these flanges are screwed on, so it's a little more of an ordeal than the adjustable ones, but still only a couple screws per.
So there really isn't a certain way, but the most common is like you see on the display board, with the closed on one side and the open on the other, so that you can push it into the closed side and set it into
Exactly.
But you could do closed on both sides, but then to move the closet rod, you got to unscrew the system, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And then the only difference between the middle one and the other one is the super heavy duty, which I think falls into an important part we want to talk about, is how the brackets to hold this all up, right?
Correct.
So the heavier duty one, you may not need as many brackets because it's a stronger rod, correct?
Yeah, you can span a longer distance. The supports are actually relatively inexpensive compared to what would happen if you actually overloaded it and the tubing collapsed or something like that. But this is strong wall tubing. The oval, I like to put a support anytime you go over 4 feet, but a lot of guys use 5 foot as a.
So does manufacturers have a certain guideline that we can send to people if they want? But the kind of rule of thumb is 4 foot is where we like to see a support every 4 feet, right?
Yeah, I think trim carpenters use 5 feet, but the way I figure it is for $5, you're adding a reasonable amount of insurance that rod's never going to.
So let's set these boards down, and that's what this little corner on these boards are about. And let's grab those support systems and talk through. We got 3 different colors here, and tell us, do you always match? Do you mix it up? And tell us about how this whole thing works. And I'm going to grab a piece of the closet rod where you can see the oval and the round, and those brackets you have there would not work for this oval piece, correct?
Right, we actually have a bracket that's made for the oval that's got a smaller J hook on it.
So we want to make sure we're educating people to get the right brackets with the right rod, because that can really be frustrating if you trying to put a square peg in a round hole, right?
Yes, definitely. So I think normally on bronze rods you're going to use a bronze comparably colored bracket, and it can mount on tack strip or cleat, 1x3 or 1x4 cleat, or it can be mounted directly to the wall, either one. So the trim carpenter has to take that into account when he's figuring out what lengths to cut everything and how to mount things. So that's the bronze, the 1 1/16.
So you got the bronze. Oh, and you want to. So you could take a different color bracket and rod, but you gotta. So sometimes you may trick out this part, but maybe everything's painted on that, right?
Yeah.
And we'll grab a painted shelf. I'm going to just set this here, and you can. And what we're talking about is assembling the whole thing together. Is what is the millwork? So the shelving usually falls under the category of the millwork package. Mm-hmm. So it's that confusing part of kind of mixing the wood with the metal and how all the parts are supplied and come together. But we're showing a painted shelf versus a shelf to be clear coated or stained, and you can trim these all out. This can all be a custom millwork application, or your millwork supply package can supply you the right shelving, correct? And then it's a matter of if you want to stain or paint the full system together, and then how that comes together. So this would sit on there and hold up the shelf as well as the rod, and then you would put a cleat, or a cleat is a piece of wood back here, right?
Correct.
That this would mount to.
Yeah, and then you screw it up into the bottom of the shelf. And as you mentioned, there's varying depths of shelves. You can get them as short as 10 inches and go up to 16 inches. So that bracket can fit entirely underneath, or it can protrude out past the shelf a little bit.
Gotcha. And when we supply the brackets, it's going to come with the color match screws, and there's also is there a screw that goes into this portion, or does that just kind of sit inside of there?
It depends on the brand.
Okay.
Epco, I don't believe, sends a screw for the J hook, but you can use any type of a screw under there with a pre-finished head, and you can drill it into the aluminum's especially easy to drill it in. But since there's usually going to be a wall on either side of the closet run, you probably don't need those screws usually.
So I'm going to have you step into the side, and then we're just going to talk through these end caps here. So to kind of go through the components here, so you got the closet rod, and you have the shelf, and then on one end you're going to have the closed bracket, and on the other end you're going to have the open bracket, or if you want to customize it. But the traditional way is you put this up on one side, screw it in, and then you get it, the rod level, right? And then you put this on the other side, and then at that point now the shelf is just keeping that load from pushing the weight down on that, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So hopefully that helps you kind of understand the components, as we really want to educate you to only do this once and get you all the right parts and pieces the first time, which we have in stock, competitively priced, with experts on hand to help you here at Mountain View Window and Door. Thank you.